Go to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/online therapy to get 20% off your first month of cognitive behavioural therapy, with weekly sessions online with a therapist, in addition to worksheets, a journal, meditation and yoga videos, and unlimited messaging. There's strong evidence that CBT can help people who hoard, and accessing therapy online can be affordable and accessible. Find out more and get your discount at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/online therapy.
A lot can happen in the next 3 years. Like a chatbot may be your new best friend. But what won't change? Needing health insurance. United Healthcare Tri-Term Medical Plans are available for these changing times. Underwritten by Golden Rule Insurance Company, they offer budget-friendly, flexible coverage for people who are in between jobs or missed open enrollment. The plans last nearly 3 years in some states, with access to a nationwide network of doctors and hospitals. So for whatever tomorrow brings, United Healthcare Tri-Term Medical Plans may be for you. Learn more at uh1.com.
Hiring for your small business? If you're not looking for professionals on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. That's like looking for your car keys in a fish tank. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So start looking in the right place. With LinkedIn, you can hire professionals like a professional. Post your free job on linkedin.com/spoken today.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Welcome to the Overcome Compulsive Hoarding with That Hoarder podcast. I am drowning in stuff and trying to find a way out. Listen as I explore the issues and delve deep as somebody profoundly affected by hoarding disorder. Find out more, including links to subscribe to the podcast, at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk, and find the links there to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and all over the place. So I'm going to start this week with the occasional series of sharing my success of the week and my weird dilemma of the week. So my success of the week is, this is a way to remind myself that I'm making some progress, and also just to be a bit encouraging that these things can improve. And it might sound small, but it felt huge. And that was that I needed an envelope. I needed to post something, and I knew where the envelopes were. I just went to where they were and found one. I didn't have to throw everything around to find an envelope. I didn't come across them by accident. I didn't have to go and rebuy a pack of envelopes when I know full well there are multiple packs of envelopes in the house. I knew where I'd put them, and there they were. It was a revelation, and I loved it. My weird dilemma of the week, and I would genuinely appreciate any thoughts on this because I don't know the answer to it still. And that is, I broke a lamp a while ago and I replaced it. Anyway, I finally got around to setting up this lamp, and like many lamps now, it had quite an obscure little bulb that I hadn't seen that type before. It used to be that when buying light bulbs, you just had to know whether it was a screw setting or a bayonet setting, but this was a very specific light bulb, and my instinct was to keep the packaging for the light bulb so that when it blew, I would know what kind of light bulb to replace it with. But there are two obvious problems with that. One is that I don't really want to keep a little cardboard box just for the label. And two is, even if I did keep it, I wouldn't know where it was when 12 months down the line I need a new light bulb. So I took photos of the light bulb packaging to keep a record of what the bulb was. But I fear this will be the same problem of just not being able to find it when I need it. Just because I know I took a photo of the packaging doesn't mean that in 12 months I can scroll back through a year's worth of photos just to find the one with the light bulb packaging. I don't know how to handle this situation. I don't know what normal people, for want of a better phrase, do when they need to keep a record of something like that, when there's not a given date for when they'll need it. Like if I got tickets to a concert, what I do with those is I put them in a particular place and then I put a note in my diary or my calendar for a few days beforehand saying the tickets for the concert tomorrow are in the cutlery drawer or wherever they are. And that way I know where to find them when I need them. But with this, I don't know when I'll need it. So I can't really schedule anything in advance with a reminder. So if you have any advice for that weirdly specific situation, I am on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I've started a subreddit on Reddit for the podcast. Now, I'm not generally a Reddit user, so I don't know quite how it will work, but it's there. The link is in the show notes, as are my other social media links. So, if you do use Reddit, come over and say hello. And if you have any advice on this situation, let me know. Now on to the main topic for this week. I want to talk about creating new habits and making them stick, because taking one-off action is great and it gets things done. But if we are to continuously dehoard, and should we achieve a normal home, we want to maintain it, then we need to have habits rather than just one-off actions. And creating habits is something that I think about a lot. And I've tried lots of things and some of them have worked and a lot haven't. So having the kind of consistency that habits allow us is really important if we want to make lasting change rather than just have a few spurts of good practice. Somebody, I don't know who he is, called Jim Ryan, said motivation is what gets you started, habit is what keeps you going, and that really summed it up for me. I'm quite good sometimes at getting one-off things done. I'm not good at maintaining them. One thing that's recommended a lot is called habit stacking. And that's basically where you create an association with something you already do. So if you do, say every morning you put bread in the toaster and you hang around while you're waiting for the toaster to pop your toast up, ready for your Marmite or your marmalade or whatever you put on your toast. Now you've got, I don't know how long a toaster takes, let's say a minute. You've got a minute there where you're normally standing around. Try stacking a habit onto that. So you put the bread in the toaster, you press the toaster down, and then while you're waiting for the toast to pop up, you might unload the dishwasher, or you might deal with any plates or cups or cutlery that's in the kitchen sink. Maybe you put the kids to bed at 7:30 every evening, and after that you go downstairs and make a cup of tea. Perhaps while you're waiting for the kettle to boil, don't even talk to me about Americans without kettles. I do not know how you cope. But while you're waiting for the kettle to boil, you stack a habit onto that, and that habit is that you check your laundry situation and establish whether you need to take things out of the machine, put things into the machine, hang things up to dry, put them in a pile to go in the right place in the house, that kind of thing. So you're creating a link between something you already do and something you want to incorporate. So one way I've been doing this is that every time I go into the bathroom, I have to pick up 5 things and move them to where they should be. So that might be to the bin. It might be something that needs to just go straight in the bin. It might be something that belongs in the bathroom, but it's in the wrong place. So perhaps I've got 5 bottles of shampoo on the side of the bath and I only need 1 or maybe 2 at a push. At any given time, I could put the remaining 3 bottles in a cupboard or on a shelf. The third category of things that I move are things that are in the bathroom and belong somewhere else in the house. And I either put those things in those places or at least put them together with other things that belong in those places. So everything I pick up and deal with either belongs in the bin, it belongs in the different place in the bathroom, or it belongs somewhere else in the house. And every time I go in the bathroom, whether to wash my hands or to do the obvious, I pick 5 things up and put them where they're supposed to be. And it's working well, I think, because obviously I have to go into the bathroom several times a day. So I'm in and out of there anyway. And I think the other reason it works is that 5 things is really not a lot. So it's not an intimidating amount of work. I'm not saying every time I go to the bathroom, I have to fill up 3 big bin bags and take them outside. And, that wouldn't click. Whereas 5 things is easy, it's quick, and over time it's effective. I think it helps that the bathroom is one of my least awful rooms, hoard-wise. So I don't get so overwhelmed in there, which is one of my big barriers for a lot of the rest of the house. But it's working out things like that. What can you attach to an existing habit that is effective but not overly demanding so you don't put it off or avoid it? Now, another quote. I'm full of quotes today. I think there were 3. The quote number 2 by Aristotle: "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit."
Now on Broadway, An Enemy of the People is a New York Times critic's pick. Jeremy Strong is one of the great actors of his generation, hails the Chicago Tribune. In a performance the Wall Street Journal praises as powerfully affecting and bitterly funny. Michael Imperioli sets off sparks, cheers The Hollywood Reporter. Victoria Pedretti is luminous, raves variety. From director Sam Gold and playwright Amy Herzog, An Enemy of the People is urgent, electrifying, and haunting, declares USA Today. An Enemy of the People, on Broadway through June 16th only.
Here's a cool fact. A crocodile can't stick out its tongue. Another cool fact, you can get short-term health insurance for a month or just under a year in some states. United Healthcare short-term insurance plans are designed for people who are between jobs, coming off their parents' plan, or turning a side hustle into a full-time gig. Underwritten by Golden Rule Insurance Company, they offer flexible, budget-friendly coverage with access to a nationwide network of doctors and hospitals. Get more cool facts about United Healthcare short-term plans at uh1.com.
Another way to think about creating a habit is to make sure that what you're trying to do matches your values. If you're trying to create a habit, but it's something you don't believe in, you won't have any success at all. If one of your values goes against the habit that you're trying to create, you will have a conflict and that will get in your way. Instead, think about what your values are, and maybe they are to have a safer home for your kids to live in. Maybe they are to have a welcoming home for your friends to visit. And think about how habits you want to create tie into those values and remind yourself of those values when you need to. If you know why you're doing what you're trying to do, you'll get so much further. And if you need to remind yourself of that, even if you need to remind yourself of that every single day, then do so if it helps. The problem with bigger picture and hoarding, in my experience, is that if I look too much at the bigger picture, I can't cope. It's too big. The job at hand is too massive. I feel like I can't ever achieve it. And so I shut down and stop even trying. But that's a bit different to the bigger picture of your values. And if my bigger picture of my values is at the forefront of my mind, while not getting overwhelmed with the bigger picture of the reality of the state of my house, then I can move forward. And moving forward in this context means adding things to my life that I try to do consistently rather than just periodically or just when I very, very, very much have to. So it's worth having a think, maybe brainstorming on a piece of paper, maybe setting a timer for 5 minutes, and in that time writing your values down as a person, and then how you can tie in your dehoarding efforts to those values. So if one of your values is that you want to be a loving and caring friend, then tie in how dehoarding your home can help you to do that. If one of your values is that you want to be a conscientious and organised person, then work out how dehoarding your home can tie into that. Write it down. Maybe have a piece of paper with 2 lists. On the left is your general values for life, and on the right is how they tie in to what you want for your home or what you need to do in your home. Being an amazing parent for a hoarder means addressing the fact that your hoarding is really toxic to your children. If one of your values is to be an amazing parent, think about how that applies to your home. It's that kind of thing. Final quote. A guy called James Clear, who wrote a book called Atomic Habits, said, "The 4 keys to creating a new habit are to make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying." So obvious, I think in the case of hoarding, everything about hoarding is obvious. I don't think there's any subtlety or nuance in the physicality of our homes. So I think habits that are obvious make a lot of sense in hoarding. The next one is attractive, and that is one to keep in mind for maybe a couple of steps down the line. Your initial attempts to dehoard won't do much on the attractiveness scale, I'm afraid to say. But if you keep attractive as an overall long-term goal, then you can work towards having an attractive home, and you can work towards feeling like matching your values by having a dehoarded home is an attractive quality to have. The next that he said was easy. Now, of course, dehoarding is not easy. If dehoarding was easy, we would have all done it years ago. But the overall project, sure, it's not easy, but maybe the individual habits we create can be, like picking up 5 things every time I go in the bathroom, like unloading the dishwasher while the bread is toasting. Try and make the individual habits you're trying to form as easy and seamless and frictionless as possible. That is the way to success. I'm convinced of it. Certainly difficult ones are not the way to success, so it makes sense that easier ones would be. And finally, satisfying. It is satisfying when you can see progress that you've made. It's satisfying when the work you're putting in is reflected in your surroundings. Successfully creating a habit is in itself satisfying, but the habit can have satisfying results for your home and the surroundings you live in. And that's what you need. So remember those 4. Again, James Clear said, the 4 keys to creating a new habit are to make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. I've talked before about putting systems in place to make things easier, and also making it easier by having things like bin bags strategically placed around the home so you know exactly where they are, so that it's not a barrier to making progress. And I've talked before about other things you can do to make it as easy as possible. And so revisit those and think about rather than saying I'm going to create a habit of decluttering for 6 hours a day forever. That's not obvious, it's not attractive, it's not easy, and it may be satisfying, but it's not easy, and that's where you need to be thinking. In just 1 second, I'll give you my top tip of the week. In the meantime, please do subscribe to the podcast, review it, 5 stars would be amazing, and share it with your friends or anyone who might be interested or who might benefit from it. It all really helps. To find more ways to support the website, the podcast, and my overall dehoarding project, go to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/support. Now, back to your top tip. So my top tip this week is related to creating habits, and that is to do something every day, even if it's picking up one piece of paper and putting it in the bin. Ideally, it will be more than that, but even if it's a token, tiny thing, taking one empty food wrapper and throwing it out, you have to keep the ball rolling, and doing a token thing every day is a good way to keep that ball rolling. Okay, thank you for listening, and I will speak to you next time. Thank you for listening to the Overcome Compulsive Hoarding podcast. You can find more online at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk. You can find me on Twitter at @thathoarder and on Facebook at Overcome Compulsive Hoarding with That Hoarder. To find out more about how you can support this podcast and the overall project, go to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/support, and do subscribe to this podcast so you make sure you don't miss any future episodes.
Hey everyone, Craig Robinson here. I want you to check out the Ways to Win podcast, brought to you by Ford and the new 2024 Ford F-150 truck. On Ways to Win, Coach Cal and I will discuss leadership lessons we've learned. We know all about the days spent perfecting your craft outside of the limelight, and have knowledge to share about how strength, inspiration, encouragement, and adaptability are the key ingredients to drive toward your dreams. And those same ingredients can be found in the new 2024 Ford F-150 truck. So check out my podcast, Ways to Win, and also check out the new 2024 Ford F-150 truck. Learn more at Ford.com. Built Ford tough, built Ford proud.